Hi everyone, I'm Hong Kun Yu. Today I will talk about how intelligent robots learn. We'll focus on two key ideas. First, how robots use cameras to recognize things. And second, how they categorize objects by their appearance. Let's get started. In this class, we'll explore robots and learn how they recognize and classify objects. First, you may take a moment and think, what kinds of robots have you ever seen in your daily life? For example, there is a sweeping robot that cleans floors, and the ordering robot in restaurants that take orders and delivers food. These robots save us from doing tiring cleaning and serving jobs. There are other amazing robots too. Check out the flying robot on the left. It can do shooting work at high altitudes. And the underwater robot that can solve all sorts of underwater detection tasks. Now, let's watch a short video together. While you're watching, I want you to think about what tasks the robot in the video is doing. Okay, the video is over. Did anyone notice what the robot accomplished? The robot in the video delivered toolkits to the workers. It first identified the toolkits, then found the right path, and finally, it successfully handed over the toolkits. After seeing so many different robots, I've got a question for you. These robots are doing all kinds of jobs our daily lives. But how do they actually learn to do these things? Let's find out. Let's start by looking at these three pictures. When we humans see them, we can immediately tell that they are batteries. We use our past memories of batteries, and we also rely on our physical senses like touch, smell, and taste. But robots are different. They don't have these real-world senses. So, they can only work with the information from the pictures. But, what information can the picture give? Let's break it down. For these batteries, we can summarize four key features. They are all cylindrical, have a circular protrusion, have a metallic texture, and there's relevant text on their surfaces. When all these features match up, the robot knows that the object in the picture is a battery. Then, let's take another example. This time, let's think about how the robot can determine that the thing in the picture is a basketball. We still summarize the features of the things in the picture. So, here we can summarize that the color of the basketball is red, then its shape is a ball, then we found it was made by banana material, and last, it has some black cable nets. When all these features are met, the robot can determine that the object in the picture is a basketball. So, from these two examples, we can sum up the recognition process. It has 3 steps. First, the robot pulls out features like color, shape, and material. Then, it checks if those features match what it's looking for. Finally, after checking all the features, it makes a decision. If everything matches the characteristic of a basketball, then the robot recognizes it as a basketball. Now that we know about recognition, let's move on how robots classify objects. Look at these 6 pictures. How would you classify them? I'm sure you'd say the 3 pictures on top are batteries and the 3 below are basketballs. For robots, classifying these pictures is a tricky job. First, the robot still starts by extracting important features from each picture. This time, we focus on 3 elements: shape, material, and surface details. Then, we look for patterns among these 6 pictures. We notice that the first 3 pictures have the same features. They are cylindrical and made of metal and have text. The last 3 pictures also share common features. They are all round and made of banana material and have those black cable nets. Based on these similarities, the robot groups them together, putting the first 3 in one category and the last 3 in another. And just like that, it successfully classifies the 6 pictures into 2 groups. That's how the classification process works for robots. To sum it up, classification starts with extracting features, but then it's all about looking for the similarities and differences between those features. The robot compares objects and groups the ones with the same features together, finally dividing them into different categories. Let's have some fun with a little game. Do you still remember those 3 basketball pictures? Well, here is a secret. One of those basketballs was actually generated by a machine. Can you guess which one? Okay, time to review the answer. The basketball on the far right was made by a robot. Did anyone guess it right? If you look closely at the picture, you spot some issues. The shadow of the basketball isn't a perfect circle. The cable net is uneven. And some parts of the cable are even broken. This shows us that robots still have a hard time getting all the details just right. Here's an interesting platform for image generation. If you are curious and want to try out the power of artificial intelligence for yourself, you can visit the 2 links on the page. Through today's study, I believe everyone has gained a basic impression of how robots recognize objects and classify them. In fact, in the scientific definition of machine learning, recognition and classification respectively correspond to supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Based on today's class, just try to think about what more robots can do for us when they get better at these skills. So that's the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching.